Hi guys, welcome to our beginners class for graphic design. And of course, the objective of this class is to bring to our understanding the essence and the basics upon which graphic design is built. And yeah, let's go into it. So, fundamentals of graphic design. Now, we cannot talk about the basics of graphic design without first understanding what graphic design really means. And of course, graphic design, according to Wikipedia, is the process of visual communication and problem solving through which the use of typography, photography, iconography, and illustration. That is, projecting an idea visually through the use of text, photos, icons, and illustrations. Simple. Yeah, simple. And yeah, but what does graphic design really mean? Well, graphic design is the ability to be able to express one's idea in the best way visually. That is, your ability to compose an idea, to project it in the best way visually, to project it visually. So, in just 2 words, graphic design is visual composition. A perfect visual composition. And of course, to have very nice visual composition, we must understand that every visual composition is meant to solve a problem. And that's one key aim of every graphic design project or every graphic designer, is to solve visual representation problem. Talk about branding, talk about starting up a business, where you have to correct reputations and impressions created by bad designs. You want to set up a new brand and try to create appealing visual representations to project the brand in the best possible way. So these are things. These are aims of a graphic designer, and this is one key thing a very good graphic design helps to do. And these fundamentals really help us differentiate between a very good design and a bad design. So up next, now what are the fundamentals of design? Well, they are basis upon which every visual composition is built. The same way, if a house is supposed to be built, we have the architectural department, giving a sketch of what the house could look like. Looking at the construction department, the ones that set up the pillars, set up the foundations, and all of that, before we eventually have our mansion or complex or duplex rather, or bungalow, whatever size of house we're planning to build. So this same thing is applicable to graphic design. There are some basics, there are some processes that it's important that we understand before we start to create a graphic design, or before we call ourselves a graphic designer. And of course, failure to understand these things would make our designs not up to standard, and of course we tend to make mistakes that are not very acceptable in the design world. So, and of course, these fundamentals ranges from lines, shape, texture, balance, and form. That is, from the elements of graphic design to the principles of design. So these fundamentals ranges from the elements of design to the principles of design. And really, these things might not seem to be very, very important when they are on their own, but they seem to be to do so much together. When they are part of what we create. For instance, looking at a line, just a single line, what does a line mean? Well, we get to know in the course of the class. But really, once a line is standing on its own, it doesn't make real sense, or probably a shape, or probably texture on its own, But once you combine a line, you combine texture, and you give it some kind of form, that it will create something much more better. In the course of this class, we tend to understand more of this. And number one of the basic elements rather of graphic design is line. And what is line? Line is a shape that connects two or more points. Line is the shortest distance between 2 points. And of course, lines are used in drawing, illustrations, artworks. The line is virtually part of everything, every single thing. I do not see anything living or non living the line isn't part of. So, and of course, line can be used for emphasis, to divide content and the design, or to be used to guide viewers' eyes. So you can use line to kind of segment your designs. Give the viewers what they should watch, what they should focus on. So we'll see more examples of line. So these are some basic examples of line. So we can see the tiny line, we can see the thick one, we can see the thicker one, we can see two lines, two parallel lines, we can see single lines, we can see slant ones, we can see dotted lines and all of that, zigzag lines. So these are basic examples of lines. And of course, how lines are used, I mentioned before that it can be used to segment elements, in a design. And you could say the first example, line stressing words. It's not about ideas, it's about making ideas happen. So we could see that. And of course, line can be used in structure. It could be used as a border. We could see the second example that lines are used as borders. So basically, these are the uses of line. And line can be very, very awesome when they are used properly in a design. Up next is shape. Now, shape, it's a two-dimensional area with a recognized boundary. Talk about circle, talk about square, talk about triangle, and so on. And of course, there are types of shape. We have geometric shapes, like these are regular shapes that goes on straight lines in their construction, or they go circular, in their construction. They are called regular because there is this just one direction they go. And organic are shapes generated from living things, basically, abstract objects and all of that. So geometric shape, number one, we could say our geometric shapes. We could see square, we could see circles, star, different geometric shapes. You could see organic shape, you could see one looking like a amoeba, you could see leaf, you could see starfish. These are various kinds of shape. And of course, what are the uses of shapes? Shapes is very, very awesome. I can tell you, shape creates majority of the top brands in the world today. Talk about Domino Pizza, talk about Nike, talk about Apple, talk about Twitter, talk about Adidas, talk about Pepsi. So these are wonderful things shapes can do. Talk about Adobe, Olympics, Chrome, and all of that. So these are basic importance of shape. These are basic uses of shape. Now form. Now we're moving gradually even into the principles of graphic design. That is, okay, what are the things we can do to the elements of design that can make them better? And one of which is form. When the shape is three-dimensional, it is called form. They can be in real world, or implied using techniques like highlight, shadow, perspective to create illusion. That is, if you want to model a person, you want to create a vector out of a person, make it look very realistic, you're giving it form instead of the flat kind of flat icon, flat object that is created with lines and colors and shapes. You want to make it more realistic, and this is what form does. Form makes it three-dimensional. And how do you do that? You use highlights, shadows, perspective. Highlights basically are just the lighter part, the lighter part of the subject, and shadows are the dark part of the subject. And how do you detect that? Is by having a light source. So these are examples of form. So we can see what form is doing. Different shades and highlights, different shadows. To create something very realistic. Up next is texture. Now, texture is a physical quality surface. It could be three-dimensional or implied just as form. Texture makes nice background image and could add a lot to your work. So texture are actually created from real life instances. But really, sometimes when you use texture too much, it can be overwhelming. Like, it can ruin the project. So, sorry. Out there is contrast. Contrast occur when two or more visual elements in a composition are different. You could see the example by this. You could see the color range are different. And that's what contrast really means. Contrast enhances readability, and it helps the reader's eyes. Do you understand? So that's contrast basically. And up next is balance. Balance is an equal distribution between objects. Balance can be affected by size, number, or negative space. And yeah, these are examples of balances. We could see the way proper alignment has been able to create balance in these instances. So yeah, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you